Hola alumnos, ahora vamos a estudiar los números 100 a 1.000.000. La información para esta lección está en la página 144 y 145. Since we are dealing with new vocabulary, as always, I'm going to say the words in Spanish and then give you an opportunity to repeat. 100, 100. Or you can say ciento followed by the number. 200, 200. 300, 300. 400, 400. 500, 500. 600, 600. 700, 700. 800, 800. 900, 900. 1,000, 1,000. 1,000,000, millón. Muy bien. Now, since we know how to say the numbers, let's take a look at some characteristics of these numbers. The first thing that we are going to study is the number 100. When we are saying 100 followed by an additional number, we are not going to say y. We will just say 100 and the number. As an example, we are on page 144. En Spanish decimos la página 144. Notice we are not going to say 144, 144. No, 144, 144. The numbers 200 to 999 must agree in gender to the nouns that they modify. For example, if we wanted to say we have 300 chairs, chairs in Spanish is sillas, las sillas. Since las sillas is feminine, we will say 300 sillas. The word mil, which means 1,000, usually is not used in the plural form. Frequently, persons will not say miles. But if we have 1 million, we will say un millón. But more than 1 million, it's common to say millones. In that instance, when we say millones, be sure to, when you're writing, drop the accent. Additionally, if we are talking about a number over 1,000, we are going to use mil. But if we're saying the numbers between 200 and 999, with that, we still need to make sure that 200 to 999, whatever that numerical word is that we're going to use, modifies the noun. For example, let's go back to our example that we had with sillas. Remember we said that las sillas is feminine. For that reason, if we wanted to say we have 300,000 sillas, since we're talking about a number more than 1,000, we will say mil. But since we're saying 300 first, we need to make sure the 300 modifies our noun, sillas. So we will say 300,000 sillas. If we wanted to say that we have 400,000 erasers, 400,000 erasers. In Spanish, eraser is el borrador. Plural, los borradores. 400,000 erasers would be 400,000 borradores. Muy bien. Excelente. It's a lot of erasers. All right. Now we are going to study what we would do when we're talking about dates, or la fecha. When we are talking about dates, particularly the year, we need to make sure, again, that the numbers between 200 and 900 are going to modify our noun. In this instance, the noun will always be años, whether we say it or imply it. For that reason, the year will be masculine in anticipation of the word años. So if we wanted to say the year 1776, we will say 1776. 1776. Notice 700 masculine in anticipation of the noun años. If we wanted to say the year 2011, we will say 2011. 2011. When we are saying a date, we are going to use the word day to connect the day with the month and the year. So if we were saying October 1st, 2011, we would first, remember in Spanish, we'll say the day first. And then we will say the month followed by the year. In this instance, since we're saying the 1st of October, rather than saying el uno, we're going to say el primer de octubre de 2011. If I wanted to say that you were born on April 13th, 1982. April 13th, 1982. We would say, naciste, you were born, el 13 de abril de 1982. Muy bien. In Spanish, when we're writing large numbers, there is a difference between when you would use the period and when you would use the comma. It's pretty easy to remember. Just remember it's the exact opposite as English. When we'll use a comma in English when we have the thousands place, when we get to the millions, the billions, the trillions. In Spanish, you will use periods. However, when we are using a decimal point in English, in Spanish, we will use a comma. And finally, please remember, when you are saying your years in Spanish, you are not going to break it down like we do in English, combining the first two numbers and the second two numbers. For example, you would not say 1982. Instead, you would say each one individually. 1982. 1982. Muy bien. So practice using these new vocabulary words expressing such large numbers. And until next time, nos vemos.